She sat there at the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, her heart heavy, her eyes distant. Across the room, her husband scrolled through his phone, absent-mindedly, unaware of the storm quietly brewing within her. It wasn't the first time. In fact, it had become normal. She longed for him to notice, to sense the weight she was carrying, to feel the ache behind her silence, to simply ask, "Are you okay?" But instead, there was only quiet, a quiet that felt louder than any argument could. In her heart, she whispered to herself, "He doesn't care how I feel." And yet, it wasn't about the phone. It wasn't about this one evening. It was about the countless times she felt unheard, the conversations that were cut short, the moments when her words felt like they were falling into an empty room. She wasn't asking for solutions. She wasn't expecting him to fix everything. She just wanted to be seen, to be felt. But every day, it seemed like he was drifting further away, not physically, but emotionally. And as the silence continued, her mind filled in the blanks. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe he really doesn't care. She didn't lash out. She didn't shout. Instead, she grew quieter, and without realizing it, so did he. Two people, in the same room, slowly becoming strangers, not out of hatred, but out of disconnection. Perhaps you felt this too. You're in a relationship. It could be your husband, your partner, or someone close to you, and yet you feel unseen. Not because they say cruel words, or because they want to hurt you, but because they don't seem to notice how you feel at all. You try, you give small signs, you hint with words, with expressions, with silence, but somehow they don't hear it. And as the days go by, the emotional distance grows, not because they don't love you, but because they don't seem to feel you. You might even start questioning yourself. Am I too sensitive? Do I expect too much? And yet, deep inside, you know, all you wanted was to be seen, to be felt, to be held. Not just physically but emotionally. The pain doesn't always come from arguments or from harsh words. No. The deepest wounds often come from simply feeling invisible. When you speak, you hope for understanding. When you cry, you hope someone notices. But when nothing comes back, when you're met with silence or with well-meaning but shallow words like, "It's not a big deal," you don't just feel unheard, you feel disconnected from the one you love most. And slowly, quietly, you stop sharing, not out of anger, but out of resignation. This is the silent suffering so many carry in relationships, the ache of feeling unseen. In the time of the Buddha, there was a woman who came to him with tears quietly filling her eyes. She had been carrying the very same pain, not from words of cruelty, but from the silence of the one she loved most. "Master," she said softly, "my husband no longer cares how I feel. I speak, but he does not listen. I cry, but he does not see. My heart feels alone, even though he is beside me." Buddha listened, not rushing, not interrupting, but allowing her heart to empty itself. After a long pause, he gently asked, "Tell me, when a cloud passes over the sun, do you believe the sun no longer shines?" The woman blinked. "No, Master, the sun is still there, hidden behind the cloud." Buddha nodded. "So too, when your husband seems not to see you, it may not be that love has vanished, but that a cloud has covered his eyes. He does not ignore you because you are unworthy." Buddha continued, but because his own suffering, his own blindness, prevents him from seeing clearly. The woman lowered her head, realizing something she had not seen before. It wasn't that her husband's heart was empty, but that he too was lost. Lost in the fog of his own burdens, his own struggles, his own blindness. Buddha looked at her with deep compassion and said, "Do not suffer doubly, once for your own pain, and again by assuming his silence means he does not care." And in that gentle teaching, the woman saw that sometimes the greatest cause of suffering is not reality, but the story we quietly tell ourselves about what someone else feels. Buddha often spoke about the nature of suffering, but more importantly, he pointed to its roots: expectation, attachment, and misunderstanding. In relationships, this is exactly where the quiet suffering begins. We expect others to validate us, to comfort us, to read us without words, and to respond exactly as we imagine they should. But Buddha shows us we do not suffer simply because others don't care. We suffer because we are attached to how care should look. The wife thinks, if he cared, he would notice and understand my feelings automatically. The husband thinks, if I care, I must fix it or solve it practically. Two people, both wanting connection, both hoping to be understood, but both reacting not to each other, but to their own suffering. Buddha reminds us gently, this is not cruelty, this is blindness. All beings are lost, to some degree, in their own ignorance and habitual patterns. But what about feelings themselves? Did Buddha ever speak directly about them? Absolutely, yes. While Buddha did not use modern words like emotional validation or communication gap, he consistently spoke about what he called Vedana, the feeling tones we experience with every moment. Buddha taught that every feeling is marked as either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. It is natural to feel, but the problem arises when we cling to those feelings or expect others to fulfill them for us. He emphasized the power of right understanding, to see feelings as part of the human experience, but not to be trapped by them. And he gently revealed that so much of our suffering does not come from the feelings themselves, but from craving for recognition, for approval, for others to mirror our emotions perfectly. Buddha reminds us, peace comes not when others behave as we wish, but when we recognize that no one outside of us can fully complete what must first be understood within. When we release the craving for others to validate our every feeling, we free ourselves, and only then can true understanding and true connection begin. So how do we bring Buddha's teaching into our relationships? What do we actually do when we feel unseen? First, Buddha teaches us to pause, not to suppress, not to pretend it doesn't hurt, but to pause and notice. Notice the feeling. Name it gently. This is sadness. This is longing. This is the ache of wanting to be seen. Then, ask yourself softly, am I seeking understanding, or am I demanding it? You are allowed to share your feelings. You are allowed to say, I feel lonely. I feel unseen. But without blaming, without forcing the other person to carry what they may not even fully understand. Instead of expecting them to fix you, let your words come from a place of invitation, not expectation. And when you do, something changes. Sometimes they will respond with more presence. Sometimes they won't. But either way, you will have stepped out of the pattern of quiet suffering and into the practice of compassionate communication. This is how Buddha guides us, not to control others, but to soften our hearts while still honoring our feelings. And slowly, moment by moment, we begin to reconnect with them and with ourselves. The truth is, you are not unseen, you are not unworthy, and you are not alone. So many of us carry this quiet ache, the feeling of being emotionally invisible. But Buddha reminds us, the suffering deepens when we wait for others to make us whole. Your feelings are real, your longing is real, but freedom begins when you no longer hand your peace into someone else's hands. When you pause, when you breathe, when you see that others may be blind, not out of cruelty, but out of their own storms, you begin to soften, and from that softness, connection is born, not just with them, but within yourself. The moment you let go of demanding to be seen and begin the practice of seeing yourself fully, you open the door for true presence to enter. And perhaps, in that gentle space, others will find you too. If this teaching touched you, if you saw yourself in this story, I invite you to subscribe and continue this path with us. And I would love to know, in the comments, what is one feeling you often wish others understood about you? Let's explore this path together. Let's learn to see and be seen.